So one of the things I've been doing a lot lately with luring is actually cueing it. So teaching a word with the behavior. So just like I say sit and a dog ends up sitting, or I ask a dog to come to me and they come, I'm now saying the word lure and teaching the dog that it's followed up with following my food lure. So if you've seen my first video on how to introduce luring, I did not discuss this before. And that's because I wasn't really doing that at that time. But this is kind of just a little add-on or an addition that I wanted to do because for some dogs, not all dogs, but for some dogs, this can be valuable, especially dogs who are reactive, dogs who bark, lunge, etc. at other dogs or people out on walks. And the reason for that is because some people end up distracting their dog from triggers anyway. So they're constantly feeding their dogs food or trying to distract them in some way so the dog isn't reacting. Now, distraction is different than addressing the behavior like counter conditioning and desensitization or whatever approach we end up taking with your dog. Distraction is different than those other approaches to try and modify behavior. So luring in this situation and for reactivity purposes is a form of distraction. I am just luring you to pass the trigger so you're not blowing up and exploding and reacting. I'm just trying to teach you to follow the food lure so we can pass successfully in situations where I might not be able to train you or do behavior modification in that situation because it's a little bit of a sticky situation or I know that my dog is going to react, so instead I'm just going to try distracting them. So luring lends itself well to situations like that at times, not for every dog, but for some dogs. So for the dogs who are food motivated enough that they can start being managed through luring, this can be a beneficial skill for you. So the way that I introduce this, if you remember in my first video, if you've seen that, what I ended up doing was starting by just introducing the food lure by walking backwards. So step one was just walking backwards and then letting the dog have a piece of food every few times that I took a couple steps. So every few steps, I would then give the dog a treat for following. Then the second step was just walking next to me like this. So if your dog is motivated enough to follow the food, at least walking backwards, like what you saw here, where Quest just follows, and she's motivated enough to follow that food lure, then so much so, she just tried to steal it from me if you saw on the other hand. So, you're silly. So, if your dog is ready for, if your dog, is doing well with that, then your dog is ready to start being introduced to the actual cue. And so what I do is I'll say the word first, then I will start luring my dog. So I would say the word, in this case, the cue is going to be lure. So what I'll do is I'll say lure, and then present the food, walk a few steps, then feed her. Lure, and feed her. And then I'm going to repeat that a few times. Now, you can choose to do it you can choose to say the word lure after each time you reward her. So usually I'll take like 2-3 steps, somewhere around there, to just have the dog follow the lure, and then I'll give them a piece of food. So I could say lure, yes. So when I said yes, that's when I gave her the food. Lure, yes. So you can do that if you want. Or you can just say lure one time while you're luring and just continue luring without saying the word. So if you noticed, again, I'll just show you the first option was lure, yes. Lure, yes. Or I can just say it once. So you're just going to hear me say it one time. Lure, yes. 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 So in that one, I only said it in the beginning when I first started, and then I continued to have my dog follow the lure. So it's up to you. at some point you are going to reduce the amount of times you're saying lure because you're going to be passing a trigger. So I'm not going to probably be saying lure and just doing this, lure, lure, right? So I'm only going to say it probably one time. So my dog might see a trigger, then I might say lure, get her into my side, yes. And then just start luring her, yes, yes. Just like that. So that's how I would do it. Lure. Yes. Nice. Good job, miss. Lure. Yes. 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 Get it. Can reset if I want. Get it. Lure. Yes. Yes. Get it. Lure. Yes. Yes. So that's what it looks like. Get it. Lure. So I say it, then I do the behavior. So I'm going to toss the treat just to reset her. Lure. She comes running over. I start luring her. Yes. Yes.